Peace, peace, family. We are now live. We are now live. Let me move this mic closer to me. As usual, thank you for your patience, family. You know, brother Rich is be a little late sometimes. But listen, oh man, it's gonna be a great show tonight. It's gonna be a great show tonight. Yeah, somebody said Rod be saying shit I never heard before. He definitely does. Definitely does. Definitely does. The brother definitely does. Um, want to make sure y'all can hear me. Get comfortable. We're gonna get to some ads as usual. Hit the like button, that's important. Hit the like button so people know that my brother Rod Hayes is live right now, kicking it. And we're gonna get to some ads and we'll be right back. All right, family? All right.
Welcome to the Sacred Tree. This is Stardust Jewelry for the collective. All of our pieces are spiritually downloaded, handcrafted, and created with the love and healing powers of our set. We pride ourselves on using nothing but the best crystals, 14 karat gold, and sterling silver to highlight the conductivity of this alchemical process. So many superpowers for us to tap into, and the crystals are here to help you. I always say whatever crystal you choose, it chooses you at the same time. It's a symbiotic relationship. So feel free to tap into the sacredtree.life, see what we have to offer. Rock.
This is Dr. B. Serious, your natural health specialist. Wise ones know that organic plant-based compounds have always held the secrets to imbalance and dis-ease. This is why I created the highest quality handcrafted natural remedies and solutions for discerning people just like you. These products support a strong immune system, help neutralize disease-causing parasites and toxins while supporting a better quality of life. Take charge of your health. Make the smart choice. Check out my plant-based vitamin C tonic, X Factor Super Immune Enhancer, and the Total Body Detox programs. Instead of waiting on a cure, visit elevationtime.com.
Welcome to the Matrix Unveiled. Awaken your spiritual powers. Take your visualizations and manifestations to the next level. Our spiritual consultations help you remove blockages to your success, guide you through your shadow work, assist with chakra alignment, inner child healing, divinations, and more. Join the Matrix Unveiled Academy and take your consciousness quantum. Please connect with us on our YouTube channel where we share information on spirituality and metaphysics. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to meet you on matrix-unveil.com.
The numerational session with King Simon. Text your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. And get my books on Amazon now.
Hey there! Had a bad dream? I have dreams too. Some parts are scary and some parts are fun. Always remind yourself, it's only a dream and everything will be okay. I had a dream about being in a forest too. Check it out, my pet Petey was with me. Order your copy of Kayla Petey and the Forest on Amazon today.
Also, before I bring on my brother Rod Hayes, I want to remind everybody of the monumental workshop happening January 7th with Billy Carson and Dr. B. Serious, the Blueprint for God Power. The link is in the description if you want more info on that, family. Truly monumental event. Dr. B will be back on next week. All right, Rod, man, good to have you back on here, my brother.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
Always good chopping it up with you, man. Always good chopping it up. We listen, this one here, like I remember I told you, wait, let me get rid of this. We did a show on Patreon about a week and a half ago, and shout out to everybody who's on Patreon. And I was like, yo, that show alone gave me like 5 different ideas for interviews to do to bring over to the YouTube platform. And one of them, you was talking about this great war in heaven that took place. And it was quite interesting to me. And let me play this brief clip. I hope y'all can hear this. I'm gonna play a brief clip. This is on the Patreon. This was at the very end. We was about to wrap it up. And you know, Rod, he just keep going. Nigga just keep going in on this shit. So he was dropping some shit at the very end. And I was like, we gotta talk about this at a later date. Let me see if let me share this screen. Check this out, family. Rod, can you hear that?
I can't hear it.
You could or you can't?
Nope. No sound.
Oh shit. Let me figure this out. I'm gonna figure it out, y'all. Give me a second. We got to expand on this great nuclear winter that took place, this ancient. Because I told you, I don't know if I told you, but I told Billy, I used to have these reoccurring dreams when I was young, just continuous, always knowing about this war, this space war that was going on. And when I was young, I used to wake up like, you hear that, right, Rod?
Yeah.
Lasers, big lasers, all types of crazy shit. But as a kid,
That's what killed most of the life on Venus and Mars.
what? Lasers?
It's the stellar war, stellar warfare, interstellar warfare.
Man.
when the war, when I told you that the nuclear winter, that wasn't just on Earth, right? Saturn was involved. Jupiter was involved. It was all types of civilizations throughout the universe. This is called the Earth realm, from the Sun to Pluto, and this was always ours, because this was always where we was operating from. Right now, remember when the war would kick off in Nibiru, this is before it hit the Earth. This is your war in heaven. The argument started at the King's Chamber, in that news chamber where Inanna and Enlil fell out. And she came to Earth and had a parthogenic son just to prove that she didn't need her husband to have a baby, Osiris. Right? So the parthogenesis created uproar because it gave the baby double ruler right. The double ruler right is the mother line and the father line. Chromosome from the mother.
We're gonna end it there, because I think some people can hear, some people can't. But you did hear that, right, Rod?
Yeah, I know exactly where we at.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So, Rod, this war in heaven that took place, I tell you, I used to have dreams about this shit when I was young. People talk about it. You said it spilled over into the other planets, Venus, Saturn, Earth. Talk to us about this war in heaven, this nuclear winter that you was telling me about on the Patreon.
Okay, so the last ice age was artificially induced.
Right.
Right. So when you read and you read in the Holy Tablets of Malachi or in the Sumerian tablets, it talks about the war that involved the civilizations from all of those planets I mentioned: Saturn, Mars, Venus, Jupiter. Some of the planets, it's not the planet, but moons that go around the planets that was inhabited. And then some of them, the planets themselves, like Venus, was actually inhabited. So when the war break out between Inanna and Enlil, started with a family dispute about what's superior, the Y chromosome or the mitochondria, right? And knew his father had told him, this is the Sumerian tablets, had told him about the superiority of the mitochondrial rulership, right? And on the feminine planets of the Earth, like Earth. There's other feminine planets. So the planet Venus is a feminine planet. Jupiter, that was the Lilith planet. That was the planet of the Lilith energy. So when they say that the Lilith energy, that Lilith got usurped by Eve, right? They're talking about the spaceship moon drove into the atmosphere and blocked out the energy signature that gave extensive power to certain sisters on the earth. These was called the daughters of Lilith, or the sisters of Lilith. So they was Saturnian priestesses. Well, they got usurped by males on the patriarchal domination. So that's why all of the judges used to wear the black robes. The Saturnian priests had usurped the divine feminine, the dark mother, which was that Lilith energy that comes in with Jupiter. So the women had to readjust, learn how to use the lunar energy, because that's how they created uncontrollable menstrual cycles, where the woman used to be able to control when she come into menses and to have a baby, and when not to. She used to turn her cycle off.
Mm.
If she wanted to have a baby, she'd turn it back on. She'd be 90 years old, she could turn it back on.
Mm.
Right? But most of the women in modern times aren't aware of the power that they have once they tune in to their own body. They get psychic images from the connection of the uterus and the pineal gland meshing with the neuromelanin at the cerebral cortex.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The vagina becomes a portal, and from the energy being funneled from the neural cortex or the brainstem in the pineal gland, it activates the portal. When the portal is activated, the woman is automatically psychic. We call it women's intuition. Women's intuition is her ability to distinguish if you're telling the truth or a lie just by how the energy feel when you said the shit you just said. So the that's the moon blocking the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the women took them a minute, but they adjusted. They figured out how to use something called moon magic. Moon magic in the metaphysics is called the silver key, right? And it's usually governed by tarot reading and oracles of varying different sorts. I Ching, the runes, um, the entrails, the seashells. They are different forms of divination. Reading tea leaves, all those are forms of divination that these women learn it to read it intuitively. They know, they see something and they know what it means. Right? This is ties back to their mitochondrial energy signature to the earth, because they become little antennas all over the earth, like Tesla coil antennas.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when the women start waking up to their power, right? So we got to give it back to them. We got to tell them what they was denied information and knowing. Just the fact that they hear it activates something in their psyche that unlocks certain potentialities in their character and personality that changes the way the earth is being dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Rod, back to this this great war that took place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what planet would you say was like most similar to Earth before this war happened and it knocked everything off course? Like, was we chilling somewhere else?
Venus.
Venus was okay.
Venus was a water world, and Earth, when it was Tiamat, was a water world. On Venus, everything was like fluorescent, um, flamboyant colors, bright, beautiful colors. On
Mm-hmm.
Earth, there was mostly shades of green and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Right, green and blue, and everything was tropical. We didn't have polar caps.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the orbit we was in, we didn't have polar caps.
Mm-hmm.
And the polar caps came when the Earth got knocked out of its orbit. That's why you got that asteroid belt as part of Earth when
Mm-hmm.
it was Tiamat from that war.
So pre-war, Earth was known as Tiamat.
Right.
After
It
the
was
war,
known as Tiamat and Kai. It was known as Kai like immediately after the war. It was called the planet Kai.
Kai. I heard Rashad Jamal say that.
Right. That was one of the names of it. Enki mean Lord of the Earth. Ki is Kai.
Mm.
It's the same word. And Enki mean Earth Lord, Lord of the Earth. Em is the Lord, title Lord.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So Enki being the Lord of the Earth, he holds the patriarchal key of rulership.
Mm-hmm.
So you follow the lineage of the rulership. And then you're looking for what's known as the Congo key, which is the King Kong key, which
King
is the
Kong King.
king of the Congo.
Mm.
That's what it means. King Kong means king of the Congo.
Mm.
The Mississippi Basin of the Americas was the American Congo.
Mm-hmm.
The Amazon basin in South America was the South American Congo.
Mm-hmm.
The tribes that always inhabit the Congo are the oldest tribes on any one of the land masses.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we're talking about the Great Mississippians.
Mm-hmm.
The Mississippians is the oldest tribe um, that exists in the Americas. They're the ones that look like this with this shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Big muscle bound niggas that talk with a southern drawl. You think they dumb because the way they talk, but they really not. They just playing the fool to catch a sucker,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they always underestimate them when they talk with the country slang. You know that boy come down here talking that
Mm-hmm.
country drawl, and they think he just slow as he ever want to be, but really don't know that boy out thinking them all.
Mm.
So that all of that was part of the stereotypes that cast us as being buffoons and clowns,
Mm.
right? Because that's the dance of the sacred clown, the Hayoka.
Mm-hmm.
The sacred Hayoka clown is represented by Boaz. Boaz is Bozo. Bozo is the clown,
Mm. Mm.
right? So it's the sacred clown we're talking. And the high chief sacred clown on the land right now is Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is the highest of the Hayoka chiefs on the land right now. When he was talking Tears of a Clown, he was coding it with Hayoka lingo to only another Hayoka know what he's talking about.
Whew.
He had to identify himself in the public domain so that the chief that's trying to solve the problem can see him, but the rest of the people can't.
Mm.
So that's why he say, if you take a good look at my face, you see my frown seems out of place. Look a little bit closer. It's easier to trace the tracks of my tears. That's one of his songs. Tears of a Clown, he was saying, I might walk around acting like I'm having fun and everything, but really deep down inside, I'm fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the nature of the sacred clown. That's what makes him go on his rant. Khalil Gibran got a story about a guy they call John the Madman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the guy that's doing the performance of a sacred clown in the town square, trying to get the people to see that the priest is frauds. Right. So that's the Hayoka thing. When they see something in the society and the people sleep to it or not paying attention to it, because we overlook a lot of stuff when we get caught in the humdrum of day-to-day life. So this all brings it out to the surface. The Hayoka gonna see it, and then he gonna say something. Then they gonna be like, that nigga crazy. But then they gonna look a little bit closer, and they gonna be like, oh shit, I see exactly what he see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you begin to wake up.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about these planets, you know, you mentioned Venus was Earth-like, it was a water world, and we inhabited Venus. And think about Saturn. Did Saturn always have its rings? Because in Saturn, that's the
They
one
still
thing.
making Saturn's rings right now. If you got a telescope, you can actually see the ships still constructing the rings of Saturn. Saturn is being terraformed into a massive communication network satellite. They turn in the planet Saturn into a communication satellite, and that's what they need the rings for. The same reason you need the shield behind the cable, the satellite receiver set.
Uh-huh.
It's in the dish.
It's in a dish, yeah, like that round
That's
dish.
what they're using to make Saturn, so that when they can communicate with Nibiru at its furthest distance.
Mm.
You can do it telepathically, but at that distance, it's instantaneous, right?
Mm.
But when you can talk to people over a device from that distance, it changes the whole dynamic, because people don't listen to their telepathy. The communications we get in telepathically, a lot of us be so confused as to what they're telling us because we don't know how to read the signature of who's talking to us and find out what they're saying by knowing who they are. This is part of knowing people. You develop your sympathetic connection by getting to know them. You get to know them by what they call heart-to-heart conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The heart-to-heart conversations establishes the heart link. When the links are in the heart and the frequency is open, that means it's a two-way signal. Now you've established the base core of telepathy. It's not brain. Telepathy not from here. It's from your heart chakra.
Telepathy.
Yep.
So when did Saturn originally get its rings? Because I heard Saturn used to be the central sun to this planet.
It used to be the
So,
night sun.
used to be the night sun.
So you know how when you go in the club and they got on the black light and the white shines bright at night, that was how Saturn used to illuminate the night sky. In the to expose the fluorescence. So it made the oranges brighter. It made all of the colors of the spectrum brighter, like you under a black light.
Yeah.
Right. When they put the moon there, it blocked out Saturn, and then the Earth is not in the same orbit either. And that's part of the reason they got the moon there. The moon is hollow on the inside. It's cities in the moon, big ones. In the hologram, we might even be projecting ourselves to Earth from the moon.
So you think we might be on the moon projecting ourselves down here?
It's a good probability because the moon and the dark night satellite work together to hold the hologram in place. The hologram is just here for entertainment purposes of the gods. It's a game. This is a game.
You said it was
a game. It ain't no different than Fortnite. It just got sub parts to it. Some of them board games, some of them Atlantic City gambling games. It's all games of the gods. They all rolled into one in a multi-dimensional chess setup. And only the masters can play at the game, and you got to have the blood to get in and the right to take over.
What's the blood required to get into this game?
The blood right of inheritance from the motherland. Earth is a feminine planet. This is what caused the war. The argument between the blood right and the rulership right. The blood right of inheritance, you can rule the earth all you don't want, but you don't have the right to the wealth of the earth. The women own the right to the wealth of the earth. When you go mining and digging in the earth, and you digging up the gold and the nickel and the bauxite and the silver and the platinum and the iridium and the uranium, that belong to these women. And so if you don't have if you don't have the rulership right, which is the blue house, and then you got the blood right, which is the red house, both saying this is my child, right? You can't unlock both doors. You can only unlock the one that's you approve. But when you approved on both sides, the mother line and the father line, then you exercise your jurisdiction and rulership. The only way to be a ruler is to get a motherfucking law. Tell people what's going on, give them the truth, and tell them who's holding them back. Where they at. I done told them exactly where these motherfuckers hang out at. I done told them about their gated communities in upstate New York. I done told them about the gated communities in New Jersey, how they hide out in Sicily, right? How they hide out in France and how they hide out in Switzerland. Now the real ones with the real juices in Switzerland. That's why they don't get in no wars. They infiltrated and flooded Switzerland from France when the Swiss into France was the last Swiss war. And this is when the Frenchmen had lost over here on the Louisiana Purchase when they sold the protectorate to the English, selling in effect the protectorate agreement, which caused them to steal our land rights by using squatter rights and admiralty law and salvage rights. So the salvage rights activated the squatter rights because they said we left our land abandoned because we was going to Florida to fight in the Seminole Wars, the Gullah Wars. It's a continuation of the same shit that was going on up there, arguing over the blood and the right. right? So how do you fix it?
As above, so below.
Yeah. You have to fix it by balancing out the blood and the right. I mean, you got to have both the blood, and then you got to be the one willing to take charge in order to solve the problem. And the problem is just a riddle. And the riddle is called the Bible. And the Bible is actually a contract. And the contract is, look, I don't know where these motherfuckers over here believe that the indigenous people of this land is Hebrews. Everything in that book is taking place in the Middle East. What the fuck it got to do with us over here? So they pull up all these cities named after cities in the Middle East to justify using that book. The book is the book that enslaved you. It's a contract. It's a blood oath contract. And the maintenance on the blood oath contract is called communion. Eat my flesh, drink my blood. I'm your God. You've consumed me. Now do as I say. It's psychological programming. In metaphysics, you know that the enactment of a thing in the public gives the perception of that reality, activates energies in the upper realms to bring certain stuff into existence. And so the masters learn how to harness that energy and direct it where it needs to go. Right? And by reading the energy, you know who put it out there, where it came from, by tracing it back. They kept changing their names and jumping organizations to keep us from finding out who they are and what they was doing. Right? They go in there and snatch Emmett Till up and say Whitey did it, but the niggas look like us. They look like us. And they said they was coming to get them because, see, what Emmett Till was Chief Littlehorn. And what he was practicing was whistling Dixie's a war cry. And he didn't know what he was doing because he hadn't evolved into his true self yet. He was still underdeveloped, but he was developing. He wasn't whistling at that lady. He was doing something called whistling Dixie. It's the Southern battle cry of the Iroquois Confederation of Nations. It's called whistling Dixie. But it's a war cry, right? It's an activation of certain war energies. And when the dirty Moors, the people that look like us, but they ain't us, that want to replace us, seeing that he knew that he was the one, he was Chief Littlehorn, he was gonna call the battle cry, they have to kill him now. They can't let him grow. When you go back into their archives and they say kill them before they grow, right? Marty even told you in the redemption song. I mean, in I Shot the Sheriff. The sheriff said every time he plant a seed, kill it before it grow. As soon as that's what the whole lynching, the strange fruit of Billie Holiday is talking about. Those were strategic murders. Those were not indiscriminate lynching of an indiscriminate individual. Those were the chiefs. They catch you from your birthday and they follow you. If you start to wake up to who you are, they murder you. But if they can miseducate you and get you to work for them, then they let you live. It's certain people that they're not supposed to kill. They just lock them up and give them 100 years. Right? By the time he get done fighting for his freedom, most of them will be died off. Where's the leaders? And what do the people do when they lack leadership? They run around like a blind mob. Because they're a blind mob. The blind lead the blind into lunacy, insanity. Right? They all end up in the ditch. Lord of the Flies, Beelzebub. So what do? When you shift everything, go back to the Vadun. The Vadun tell you how to exercise the energy in you in order to change the energy of the world.
You said voodoo, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Teaches you how to change the energy in your internal self to affect the way changes that's taking place in the world. You become the facilitator by following the practice.
Right.
The bigger the conjure, the longer the turnaround time.
Right. Let me ask you. You said you talked about Earth being a feminine planet. Is the majority of the planets and it's feminine. Like what is, you know? I heard you say Saturn was feminine before, also.
Yeah, Saturn was hijacked by patriarchs, just like Earth was.
Uh-huh.
The only difference is you had divine masculine fighting that role of patriarchal energy the whole time
On Saturn,
on Earth.
on Earth. Okay.
Saturn, they got sacked. They didn't see it coming. Right? Venus got a shield up. You can't see in past the shield they have up.
What about Mars?
Mars was a planet of warriors. That was one of the first planets that they hit with massive nuclear armaments from space. Because they was the protectorate of the Earth.
Well, Mars was the protectorate of the Earth.
Well, yeah. They was the warrior. Okay, when you got a feminine planet, on the feminine planet, normally what you have is you have a bunch of mushy women that love to love you. And then the guys be all caught up in that shit, caught up in the rapture of that energy. They not fit to be a warrior unless they started off as a warrior first.
Mm.
So that's why we end up putting in our work as a youth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how because we need to develop into the warrior before the women awaken the divine masculine. And now we won't be able to protect them properly.
Right. So how was Sirius affected by this great war that took place in heaven? If it affected Venus, Mars, all these planets, how was Sirius affected by this war?
I don't really know how Sirius was affected, but I know that they sent us the marijuana from the Sirius constellation.
Where you get this from, man? Where you get this from? The weed come from? Come on, that's why it works so well
It
with
comes
us, man.
from, yeah. Cannabis comes from the Canis constellation at the back of the Sirius constellation. It's the Great Dog, right? That's why it's called cannabis, because it's from the Canis, right? So when it came down here, they say you can use this to tune in to the frequencies of the energies of the earth. That's why the chiefs always chief.
Always chiefing, right?
Go back and study Shaka Zulu. He had a very potent form of marijuana with psilocybins.
Yeah, they was like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now theirs didn't have the CBDs that make you fatigued when you smoke a blunt.
Right.
Right. Theirs was just straight THC. It's a different strain of marijuana from what we have over here. But also you got hashish, which comes from processed marijuana from Afghanistan. Hashish is where you get hashashin that became the assassins, because they use it to tune in to the frequency of the master. The master is the one who can see when he smoke it, he can connect all of the minds of the light to the frequency.
Right.
It's a telepathic connection using the hashish as the sympathy, or the THC in the hashish. The spirit body is called the endocannabinoid system by people who study marijuana. Right? So the endocannabinoid system weak, you smoke weed, you go straight to sleep. The stronger it gets, the higher your tolerance. But you also turning on psychic abilities, because it slightly detaches you from the fixed position reality you in. It's allowing you to see between the cracks in the crystals of the matrix. So now you can put shit together that you wouldn't have normally been able to put together before.
It's like they messed up all of everything we use to tap into, home.
They villainized it, demonized it, and then they tried to weaponize whatever we wouldn't let go. And then certain stuff they just couldn't take from us. Like, you can't take Mardi Gras from New Orleans. You can't take Los Carnaval from Brazil. You can't take Cinco de Muerte from Latin America. If you want to try it, I will welcome you to try it, but watch the backlash you get. You will wake them up instantly.
What's up
There's
with
certain conditions you allow them to carry on in order to keep them asleep. You attach your own meanings to their shit. Like Thanksgiving wasn't the bad part, because Thanksgiving was the natives feeding the foreigners. We always did that.
Oh, Thanksgiving, you saying?
Yeah, but Black Friday was the problem. They massacred the shit out of us in the middle of the night.
So Thanksgiving was our shit.
It's the
Black
Harvest
Friday
Festival.
is yeah.
It
We
was
did it.
the final harvest festival of the year. It was called it was called the Turkey Harvest because Big Mama was at that festival. It was traditional that to honor the chief, she cook a turkey, which represented the full feather chief, the high chief.
You mean to say they weren't vegan, right? They weren't vegan. The
No,
vegans
they
are the
they
vegans are
was
watching.
they had vegan clans though.
Yeah.
All of the clans weren't vegan,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of us like the turkey was ceremonial. We didn't eat turkey on a daily basis because of the tryptophan.
Right. Put you to sleep.
Yeah, and that's what they banked on.
And that's how they got us on Black Friday, you said.
Well, then we smoking weed, then they bring us fire water. You got to remember, at the time, we not using alcohol over here, so we have no tolerance to it.
Mm.
They call it fire water when they gave it to us, or we call it fire water because our taste burn going down.
Yeah.
Right? So now we smoking weed, we eating tryptophan and drinking plenty of alcohol, singing and dancing around the fire to Can't See at Night. Probably 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, we all start packing it in for the night. Before the sunrise, we were slaughtered. Black Friday. And they always commemorate Black Friday by having an auction of the hostages, the POWs. They called us slaves, but we was POWs. We weren't slaves. We was prisoners of war. But as long as we look at it like we slaves, we force ourselves to be victims. We was prisoners of war. How the fuck is you kings and queens, descendants of kings and queens, and a slave? That's incompatible. That means that you was a POW, you was a prisoner of war if you was kings and queens. That means that you was fighting against a different set of kings and queens and they was kicking your ass. So now you have to come out of the slumber. Stop looking at yourself as the victim. Look at yourself as an equal that got motherfucking blindsided. You didn't see it coming. That gave them the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got the advantage, they never let up. Even when the ceasefire came, when we started leaving the South, they said we came north for an industrial revolution. We was going back fucking home. Back to Detroit, back to Chicago, back to New York. All over the land, we was going back to where we came from to go fight in the war. Because now Big Mama then said we ain't finna fight, keep shedding all this blood on the land. So what they do? They keep bombing us. All you got to do is search the Great Fires. They kept flooding us. All you got to do is research the Great Flood. They chopping down the trees so we don't have no motherfucking cover of in the darkness that they can't manipulate. All you got to do is find out what happened to the cypress trees of Florida. They used to be bigger than the redwoods, right? But we don't remember our culture. We don't remember our people. We don't remember our Skywalker clan. Why do you think they call them treetop Pyrus? They're the descendants of the Skywalkers. That's the Red House Skywalkers. The Blue House Skywalkers, that's the Crooked Man walking across the land, walking lightning. That's Big Tookie. The Crips. Right? Then you got Chicago, you got the big bison himself, Chief Malik Angel Bay. He's the bull moose. He can't be fucking moved. These are the leaders of these clans, and this is why they captured them in COINTELPRO. This is the continuation of that shit that started on Nibiru over a dispute of who was superior, Y chromosome or mitochondria.
Yeah, so men and women been beefing for a long time. This
It's
gender
not
shit.
men and women. It's rogue patriarchs versus divine feminine.
Mm.
The rogue patriarchs are not what they appear to be. The rogue patriarchs is pushing an agenda to subjugate the divine feminine so that they rotten bitches that smell like horse ass in the crotch can get a seat at the table. Because we wouldn't normally we wouldn't participate if a female don't smell right. She don't get no motherfucking seat at this table.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they knew what we appreciated in our women. So they try to destroy them with the rape campaign, the patriarchal styles of government that subjugates the divine feminine and exalts some shit called feminism, which is rogue patriarchy with a skirt on.
Let me show you this comment. That was deep. Let me show you this comment. This from I think this brother was on the show when I had people talk. El Sut Typhon. Sirius is the chief host of heaven, the first light to come out of the darkness, and then Orion. So when Big Mama, I heard you talked about before creation before.
Mm-hmm.
When Big Mama created this shit, Sirius was the first light to come from her. Is that what?
Okay, so all of these lights that we see in the sky at night, all of those lights had to get here. Those are light years away from us. It doesn't sound far-fetched that Sirius and Orion's light would reach this area of the creation first because of the distance that they are. And then the Orishas tie back to Orion and the Sirius star constellations. The Zulu legend takes the Zulus straight to Sirius. Zulus are called skywalkers. The name Zulu literally mean people
Sky.
from the sky.
Yeah.
Right. So over here, the equivalent or the mirror tribe is called the Hopi. Every tribe got a mirror tribe on another land. Every landmass got a tribe that reflect another tribe. That's what Pan-Africanism from Garvey was about. That was his motivation. You won't know it until you start communicating in a confraternity with the different peoples of the earth that was already here. See, he came over with the Inky key, right? Through the Prince Hall School of Masonry. And he was the master who understood the conjure sufficiently enough to go on the campaign to put it all in the public domain. He didn't get infiltrated by no pink motherfuckers. Some niggas is the ones that overthrew Garvey, ousted him from his own shit. The same with Noble Drew Ali. The police couldn't get past his Mufti staff. You think Malcolm was militant? Them niggas was militant worse than Malcolm because they was fresh out of the trauma of the KKK shit. Them Christian ministers didn't sound like Malcolm before 1955. Listen to Vernon Johns. It's safe to kill Negroes in Montgomery. They label him a firebrand. He talked like he make Malcolm sound tame. He was a Christian. He was the SCLC leader before Martin. But they were scared of Vernon Johns because he would tell it like it is and he wouldn't sugarcoat it. So they put Martin there because at the time he was a kid and he ain't know no better. But as soon as he found out, he was pissed. So when did he find out? He didn't find out till 65. Because in 63 he ran into Malcolm at the rally up there, the We Shall Overcome rally, and where he gave the I Have a Dream speech, and then he met Malcolm, and Malcolm told him then, no matter what you see or no matter what you hear, go talk to the old man the first chance you get. He's going to change your life. He put it off as long as he could, and Elijah sent for him. 1965, he flew to Arizona. Elijah sent the FOI to go get him. When he flew to Arizona, they had a meeting. When he got done telling him what was being done, how it was being done, who was behind it, and what they was trying to do, and what had to be done to overcome it, he didn't have the same look in his eyes. He was pissed. He got nothing but fire in his eyes because he's going to get that goddamn check. This is when he's talking about them mechanizing the farms. They was trying to block us out of institutions, and when we created our own, they burnt them down. It's common sense. It's basic warfare.
I want to ask you about we just talked about Sirius, and we often talk a lot about our ancestors, about us coming from Sirius. I want to talk to you about birthmarks. And is this a new phenomenon on Earth? Is this some way for some extraterrestrial civilization to track us? Is how they say you got a barcode or your microchipped or something like that? Is birthmarks do we always have birthmarks, or is this something new after some shit went down in the heavens and then we all of a sudden we got birthmarks because nobody knows what they're there for?
Yes, I do. Who said we don't know what they're there for?
You know what I'm talking about, Rod? Come on.
Look, the purpose of the birthmark is to know which ancestor came back.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Example. Uncle Johnny Walker gets shot in the chest with a 12-shade shotgun.
Uh-huh.
Little baby Jason is born with a pattern that looked like he got shot by a shotgun and strawberry patch across his chest. That's Uncle Johnny. He just came back as a little fella here. The birthmark is just to tell the old elder ladies know who he is as soon as they see the birthmark. And then they tell you in a roundabout way. And you see that birthmark. Now that's, or sometimes the birthmark is alcoholism. See, drink just like his Uncle Jason. Uncle Jason used to just drink all day. Right? They telling you who the ancestor that came back. Now you got to help them overcome the addiction in order for them to clean up the family tree. Some of them you can't help because they don't want to help themselves. But if they're trying to follow the path of the righteous and help themselves to come up, then it won't matter. You can help them. And they'll receive the help and benefit from it. And then they'll reciprocate you for it. We don't have that memory clear enough in our collective consciousness. It was always so. It's something called marking a child.
Right.
It's something called marking a child, right? You see all the old ladies say, "Don't mark that baby." Right? That's because you'll pick up something while you're pregnant that somebody's doing, and you'll lock in on it. When you lock in on it, and you start talking bad about it, you are prescribing your child to overcome that thing that you're marking them with. Right? So your child, you be talking about how greedy somebody is, your child born a glutton. And all their life they're fighting with obesity and hunger issues. Bulimia and anorexia because you marked that child. This is why the doula centers, they used to tell the women that only think good thoughts to the child, only say good things to the child, and talk to them often out loud. That's just part of the. Now they tell you in science, they show you when they put Beethoven on the child, it changes the neural network. But the mother's voice is 10 times more powerful. The father's voice is 5 times more powerful than Mozart. For accelerating neurological connections in the child's brain.
Right, in that Patreon video we did, it was amazing, y'all. Y'all got to go see it. You said, and one thing you said, you also said was, each person down here is powered by a neutron star.
Yeah, the amount of energy required to run the human system, the body. Just when the neutron star is a step down capacitor, the mitochondrial is the step down capacitor. Mitochondrial come from the soil of the earth. And the female planet, that's your link.
That's the link.
That's the link. That's why they say if you ain't from the earth born, you can't stay.
Right.
How do they know? You sync through the mitochondrial link and the step down capacitor is based on the distance that all of them stars that you see in the sky is us.
That's literally.
Yeah, but we came here on them rays of light hundreds of thousands of years ago.
What
And
rays of light? What do you mean?
the ones that we see as stars,
Right.
those lights come down. That's you seeing it as a ray of light touching your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long did it take to get here? That's how long you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we know that we was always here. Because we able to trace ourselves back to coming in on different frequencies of light and forming the collective consciousness together on a convergence point. The physics or the physics math, the geometry for it is Metatron's cube. And from the center of Metatron's cube springs forth what is known as a torus field or a torsion field. The torsion field is it's the microverse of the macroverse. An apple is caught in a torsion field. A watermelon is caught in a torsion field. An elephant is caught in the torsion field. All torsion fields are in the known creation comes forth from the heart of a thing. The torsion field that creates our overall solar system comes from the heart of the central object, which we call the sun. The sun then creates a torsion field that encompasses the rest of the planets. They becomes the chakras. We just a smaller version of the same thing, as above, so below, as within, so without. And this is why when you realize that to think with a God mind, you become indifferent. Because that good shit, that's in you. But that bad shit, that's in you too. And then you can't have one without the other, because as soon as you take one without the other, you chose sides. That's how you fail. Go back, learn your lesson. Stop taking sides. Because the God mind is indifferent. And this is why you see people they call evolved people, like the Buddha and the Christian, and they're always talking about just be, just live in the moment. What they're talking about is the perception of the God mind. When you in the moment, you become the whole of the creation, and then you merge back in on yourself, and you create a byproduct of some shit known as bliss. This bliss only can happen when your mitochondrial of a male is turned all the way up by his female. She turned the mitochondria up, then she send you to go do your mission. And the mission is what's written in your book of life. Either she gonna help you do it, or she gonna send you to do it, or she gonna do something different while you do this.
I had a question, Rob, but I see people in the chat. They keep asking about my my shirt, and they like they're saying it's Enlil, the shirt, Yahweh. I remember in the Patreon you said it's a title. It's not, you know.
It actually is the title, and the last Yahweh to hold the title was Enlil. He's the one when they talking about in the biblical contract. It's his contract. He pervades the contract through his son Ninursin by ascribing a certain set of ritual rites, Babylonian blood magic, Babylonian money magic, and Babylonian sex magic. And anybody who participates in those conjures becomes practitioners of the rites of sin. By default, they be called the sinner. All right. So the sinners are the ones who follows Enlil's son, Ninursin. And the Jehovah's Witness, or the ones who follow Jehovah Yahweh, Yad-He-Vah-He, that's Enlil right now. But he's been deposed. But that's he was the last person to hold that seat of Yahweh.
Who had the seat before him? Who had that throne before him?
Enki.
So Enki was Yahweh before Enlil.
Enlil came and pulled rank and became known as the Yahweh.
What
But
about before Enki? Who was Yahweh before Enki now? Because this is getting
Iliu,
interesting. Say that again.
Iliu was the first of the Anunnaki to come to Earth and the first to hold the time.
This-
When you hold the
well,
title
say that
down,
name again, Ron. Say that name again.
Iliu,
Iliu. Wow. Okay.
he was the first of the Anunnaki that came. He lost the war to Anu in hand-to-hand combat in Nibiru before all of the kings of the land.
Iliu lost to Anu.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because he lost, Anu banished him to what this was supposed to be the distant abyss where nobody's supposed to be.
He banished him here.
Yeah. And when he came here, we was in a civilization of Earth then called the Great Atlant. We call it today Atlantis. But it's the Great Atlant. That's over here.
Yeah.
Right? But it was a worldwide civilization as is reflected by the global pyramid structures.
Right. Right.
So if the global pyramid structure betrays the worldwide civilization, wherever you find the most pyramids, that's where the civilization spring from. They use the pyramid as the power grids. So then you find that they originated over here with Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, which is the same person, the Great Thunderbird. Right? And the Great Thunderbird is the chief of chiefs. So you get just say you get 1,000 chiefs together, and they all got to pick one most loved, most respected. He become the high chief of high chiefs, the Kukulkan. He get to wear the head of the great serpent on the great serpent mound. When you see them doing stomp at the sororities and fraternities, when they be stomping, those are ancient dance parts to the great dragon ceremony. That's why they stomp. When you standing in the Mayan pyramids and you stomping, it makes a certain sound that carries a pitch.
Oh, it does. That definitely does.
Right. And then some of them got taps on their shoes, some of them don't, and some of them barefooted, but they all make a different sound. And they all got different colored feathers. When you get them all together, all of the clans together, it look like a big rainbow of feathers wrapping around the Great Pyramid of Tahuti. And then when they do their part of the step, it looked like it's moving up the pyramids, around the pyramids, and it's making this sound at the same time. And this alters reality instantly.
Yo, Rod, somebody said Rod talking like he was there. Don't Rod do sound like he was there yesterday, right? When Rod say this shit, he sound like, yeah, because you know this and that. Like you got some hell of a something going on with your mind, brother. The way you describe these things, it's like, how that nigga know that right there?
Look, I was there.
You had to be.
No, I was there. Look, all of these is genetic memories. I can unlock the genetic memory and go right back to the place like it was yesterday. From the wars, from when the argument first broke out before it turned into a war. Enki called Nenegazita up to Nibiru because his brother Enlil was clowning in front of Anu. Right? By this time, my nana gone back to Earth. So her baby boy get up there. Where my mama at? Fuck that nigga. Where my mama at? Right? And where you go look around for his mama, and then one of the maidens say she went back to Earth. He was like, oh shit. Enlil just went back to Earth. Pops, we gotta roll out. This motherfucker on some bullshit. Right? I remember sitting in spaceship Moon talking to Enki about the days and the stretching of the days of the Earth in order to set up the system that you call time. But when you tell people that shit, they be looking at you like this nigga from.
Nah, I want to hear that. What was that conversation like? What was that conversation like, man?
Okay, manifestation used to be easy. It used to be instant.
Yes.
It was instant because the love saturated the atmosphere of the Earth. We breathe the double oxygen molecule you call ozone, which increases the oxygen intake, which causes us to be physiologically much larger. We knew what would happen based off mathematics. If you create a delay in the manifestation, it's going to frustrate the people. The only way there can be a delay is you have to have a construct called time. Where there is no time, there is no delay. So you have to create time. So this was one of the strands of Metatron's cube and became one of the laws of this construct, the law of time. The law of time is the measurement of space increment.
Keep talking, Rod. I got to get the charger. Just talk, my brother.
Yeah. So the measure of time is the measure of increments of movement from one point to another point, and we call that oscillation peaks. The oscillation peaks, as they go up and down, the peak in the valley, up top, down low. Those are the peaks and the valleys. The peaks and the valleys in the up and down, the space between them creates your what we call time, your seconds, right? So in order for you to get a manifestation, you got to go up, down, instead of straight, right? Before, when you get, this is how they know about what's called wormholes, right? Jumping from one place to another without anything blocking it. It's the instant manifestation. You take that and separate it, make it bigger, and now you got more space, which creates the illusion of time because of the illusion of distance. Quantum entanglements say that two things, one has an upward spin, one have a downward spin, that becomes quantumly entangled. No matter what distance in the universe they are, one is affected, the other one is affected too, which changes the frequency and the pitch. So when the frequency and the pitch change, it automatically alters on the other end what was altered on this end. That's quantum entanglement. And the quantum entanglement has to be done for instant manifestation, but we can't never get to the quantum entanglement because we tied up in the law of time. And the law of time, having a delay in manifestation, gives us a frustration that keeps us from trying to push beyond that annoyance of the quality of time, that the duration period. They make like shit seem like it's taking forever, but in the overall scheme, it's only happening for an instant.
Right. I want you to tell me, when did this, we're talking about this war, that great war that happened in heaven. I would imagine, is this when this galactic federation that everybody talks about, is this when it got formed after this war? They're like, yo, we got to keep this shit under control. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to form this team. Is that what happened, my brother?
Right. It was spearheaded by Pleiadians. We would call them on Earth right now the love and light community.
Love and light.
Oh, wow. Love and light. We all can overcome. Flower child, let tomorrow be great, for today is awesome. Them motherfuckers.
Right.
We chaos beings. So for us, that shit crazy. We chaos beings. We don't give a fuck about no love and light, bitch. I hit your ass with this thunderbolt of drama. Fuck that shit. Because sometimes in order to do what's right, we got to light your ass up. Right? So the Pleiadians knew this was a free will universe. The free will universe, all free will universes are feminine. All restricted will universes are masculine, patriarchal. This was a free will universe, and it was attacked by patriarchs that came from a restricted will universe. Enki's home universe that he had his birthright to was a restricted will universe. So whatever he said, all adoration came back to him, no matter who received it. On Earth, it's a free will universe. The adoration go to the one who earned it. That's what he didn't like. He feel like that if he's Anu's son and he the number one military guy, when he come to Earth, we just supposed to stop loving each other and start kissing his ass. It don't work like that. Most love, most respected is how we pick them down here. He didn't like that because he didn't want to go through the proving period of who and what you are made of. See, everybody else, including Enki and Inanna, done it. right? To prove that their intentions was pure and that their heart was pure and that they wouldn't upset the balance of nature. Inky didn't want to do it, so he attacked. He used the what's the universal right of rulership is conquest. Conquest is how you expand your territory, your rulership reign. This is why we have wars on Earth. We have wars on Earth to mirror those wars that he had when he was conquering his territories. The only problem with that is soon as one of his free will universes that he's trying to conquers him, he loses everything he ever owned, including his restricted will universe, now becomes a free will universe, and it becomes surrender to the divine feminine in that universe. Because the planet that beat him was divine feminine. So these rules carry beyond here, but the Galactic Council was responsible to enforce them.
Mm-hmm.
The Andromeda beings, them was the first beings we ever had a war with. Those were the ones they called a predator. 7 feet, 8 feet tall, but really they was like 20 feet tall, and we was like 7 and 8 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And they was coming here to hunt us, and they was coming here to hunt the dinosaurs that Inky created.
So dinosaurs were real.
Yeah. Inky created the dinosaurs to turn this into a safari hunt for the a treaty that he made with the Andromeda beings, the predators.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't look like the predator. They looked like the Wraith on SG-1 more than they look like the predator. Mm-hmm. They matriarchal too, but they are very, very mean. Very mean. And so when we fought them, we won. That war lasted a couple million years, Earth time, right? So once they lost, part of the surrender was anybody coming to the outer atmosphere have to get through them first. They the only ones that the Anunnaki didn't want to war with, and we had already beat them. But the Anunnaki came with a form of warfare that we wasn't familiar with called tell a goddamn lie. We don't know nothing about lying because everybody tell the truth. Because we be like, fuck your feelings. This is true. Mm. You a piece of shit. You ain't had no business over them people's house. You had no business touching their shit. They should have beat your ass like they beat your ass. Because if you'd have came to my house and did it, I'd have beat your ass too. Mm-hmm. We truthful like that. Right? They think that's being uncultured when they lying to you. Mm. Because as long as you that truthful and they start telling the lie, you calling them on the lie in front of everybody else, it becomes humiliating to them. So now they want to murder you. And it plays out in the human arena right now. Mm-hmm. Anybody they catch telling the truth, get that nigga. Mm. But the way that they was avoiding a lot of the karmic accumulated debt was they was having us do it to us because we thinking that they are also us. People that look like us is telling us to kill us, and we believe them because we believe they us. Right.
And you said this in the Patreon. They specifically chose a spacesuit that looks like us.
Yeah, because they when they originally came, they came as a swarthy Aryan from Nirvana. Nirvana is a homeland India. That's what his people look like the so-called royalty of India right now. Mm-hmm. The real royalty in India is called Dravidians. Those are Inky's children who was displaced by Enlil's children. And they know that Inky told them Enlil ain't gonna win. He's not gonna win. So the story is told in varying different places. In Egypt, Ra tell Thoth to leave the land Osiris tell Thoth to leave the land to Ra, Marduk, Enlil's son. But Enki's son, Marduk, is the one who inherits what's called the Absu. This is the great king of the Zulus. That's his title, right? And that's Malachi York in modern times, born in a different tribe, to come back to clean this shit up. He had to be born in a different tribe. The only way on earth you can be born in a different tribe is you have to be from one of the oldest tribes of the earth. If you're from one of the oldest tribes of the earth, you can pop up in any tribe.
Mm-hmm.
This time I popped up a Mississippian, right? Another time I popped up, I was Aztec, Mayan.
Mm-hmm.
Aztec, Maya, Inca is all continuity of culture. It was the same civilization at different time periods,
Mm-hmm.
right? In Olmecs, these the old men with the stone faces. Why they made Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was made to put pale faces in stone over here on the land. It was a sigil. Because they was using pale faces to block the institutions, and it was mainly 4 institutions. That's why you got 4 faces on the mountain. The 4 institutions was economics, education, politics, and real estate law. Long as they covered those 4 areas, they could keep us subjugated until we figure out that there's a war conjure at play. As soon as we figure out the war conjure at play, we can change this shit on the drop of a dime.
I want to, Rod, I want to ask you about, we're talking about as above, so below, and a lot of people feel as though there's just so many just different theories about flat earth. This, you can't go to space, you can do, just so many different
Everybody
schools.
right, though. This is the hardest part to get. Everybody right. Because
Based on,
everybody's seeing a different part of the creation.
and there's unlimited versions, you're saying.
Right, because we
Infinite.
can't, if we all sing the same thing, we in a general consensus of the now. But in the general consensus of the eternal, there is no general consensus.
Isn't it? Right. That's deep.
Because very few of our minds can grasp what it is to be here for eternity. To have always been here and to always be here. And that you just popped up at this point in time as a human. Right? Most of us, our mind can't see the timeline far enough back in order to see farther into the future than a couple of days. Right? So we know, this is what we know. We know that things happen on a cyclic basis. That if you catch the cycle at the right spot, you could flip out that cycle into a new cycle. We know that if you flip into a new cycle, you break an infinity loop at this particular time when the infinity loop is in the center, where they're connected at. Once you flip out the infinity loop, then you flip into what's called eternity, right? Now you are able to communicate on higher realms of consciousness. These higher realms of consciousness, we call them realms of heaven and earth, right? But heaven is on earth when we bring the sweet waters back, when we bring back that Oshun energy, that pure, unadulterated, mitochondrially expressed love energy. Soon as that reaches out through the general public, boom, heaven, earth becomes heaven. Everybody becomes pleasant to deal with. Then it ain't no, all of the niggas gonna die, all the crackers gonna die. Ain't none of that shit no more. The God mind know that everything in existence only exists by the will of the creator. If you think less than that, that means that you haven't developed into your God mind yet. Everything, there's nobody here that ain't supposed to be here. I don't care what they look like.
Everybody has a purpose, you're saying.
Everybody got a purpose. And all things come together to work for the greater good. Why? Because we working for the greater good because we came from the chaos. The goal is for the chaos being to develop into the character, that gold light of the self, that shining heart of gold being expressed through the chaos. The light that shine in the dark and the dark comprehend it not. That's the golden heart. It shines in the darkness of the chaos being. We the chaos beings. Now we've had to learn how to use chaos magic. Chaos magic has one rule. If it worked, use it.
Ooh. Nigga said if it work, use it.
That's chaos.
Man.
That's true chaos magic.
Man.
If it work, use it. If it don't work, throw that shit in the garbage.
You talked about the golden light, and I remember talking to you on the phone one time, and I was, talking to you about the blue light and how important
That's galactic.
The blue light.
We going through that in real time right now. It's altering the sun, and the sun is putting out different UVA, UVBs, ultraviolet rays, in order to alter and upgrade the DNA. And as we go through the blue light, the communication from the body is responding to the blue light hitting the sun, hitting the body, transferring that energy, turning it over. It's basically unlocking what was locked. Inky did that. It's on the timer, and that's the timer. So we run through this giant donut of energy right now.
Yeah.
That we can't see with the naked eye, but it's there. It can be measured with scientific instrumentation.
What they say 26,000 Earth years is one cosmic year. So, and you said, I remember you said before, when a baby's in the mother's stomach for 9 months, it don't nest. The baby we don't know how long that baby thought he was in, or he or she thought they was in that stomach. So, do they look at us like we black folks? We think we've been fucked up for a minute down here. As they observe us down here, the holographic projection, do they see it different? Like,
look,
we ain't been suffering that long to them. That's only our perception,
Listen, we came here specifically to suffer. Now ask me how I know that.
How you know that?
Because we've been suffering. In the free will universe, if you don't choose to suffer, you can't be forced to suffer. That's why the nature of oppression is atmospheric. You're only going to accept what you're willing to take. And you wire to accept what you're willing to take by the agreement you made before you came in. That's why some of us got a short fuse. And some of us got the patience of a saint. Right? And some of us appear to have the patience of a saint, but really got a short fuse. Right? But that patience of the saint keep people from trying to spark that short fuse. Right? So they can use it as a cloak. But in the end of the day, we all here by a consensus agreement to come into this realm. Most of us are here as what we call the cleanup crew. We the cleanup crew. How do you know the cleanup crew? All they telling you is who did it, what they did, and how to get past it. That's it. They don't got no. They can tell you a whole lot of other shit, but the gist of what they telling you is who did it, because you got to know who did it in order to heal from it. You got to know what they did in order to know what you're trying to heal from. Right? And you got to know how it was done if you want to undo it, reverse engineer. So when you get those three things down and you apply the who, what, when, where, why, and how, then you start to see a different view of life than other people. When you see it as a game that's being played, because you see the rules of all of the board games be played in real life. If you want to be a good godfather, like Vito Corleone, right? What do? You learn more board games than anybody else. That means that you got stronger family bonds because you spend more quality time with family members in order to learn the rules to the different board games. Most of the time we play those games with the family. Scrabble, Pinochle, Spades, Doctor, Operation, Battleship, right? Now, if you learning all of those rules, and then as you get older, you start to realize something. The more rules about different shit you know, you can apply them in different places to great effect. The guy mind don't take none of this shit serious. But it don't take it as a joke either. The God mind realizes that all of this is how it's supposed to run. We chose suffering because we suffering, or else we wouldn't be suffering. Then you got to look at who's going to carry the biggest burden of the society, the strongest ones at the bottom. You can't put the weakest motherfuckers at the bottom. It's going to collapse.
Mm.
You got to adjust everything according to where the strengths and the weaknesses of the people are. So you create avenues for different people to rise to different levels. In the way this system is structured, the strongest people is at the bottom. And when they get tired of the game, then all they got to do is stand up. And that's us. We the strongest in the game because we took the most shit. Take the most shit and get handed the most shit with the least amount of motherfucking resistance.
On that note, I want to get to a couple of questions from the people before we get out of here. Let me put your Cash App on the screen. I seen somebody mention it earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you. By now I know it, so I ain't gotta ask you. It's capital SIK, capital APE.
Yep.
All right, so I got the brother. Man, the brother just sat here and dropped it for almost an hour and a half, y'all, on some shit that some ancient history. So I mean, make sure y'all support the brother.
All this stuff is documented. Like a lot of the wars, the ancient wars, is documented in India in the Vamana Sutras, or the Vamanas Wars. Is the part of it that it's in is called Vamanas Wars. The Vamanas was an ancient flying ships. They was more advanced than the shit we fly around in now. Your F-15s and F-16s, your Tomahawk helicopters and your Black Hawk helicopters, all that shit. That was shit we could have did that in physics in the 6th grade. Now we in the 6th grade, we can't even hardly tie our goddamn shoe.
Damn.
That's how dumb does. If you want to see how dumb we down, get a modern children's book for a 1st grader and get Aesop's Fable. Aesop's Fable was for bedtime stories for children before they go off to first education at 6 years old. Them was the bedtime stories. You try to read that shit to an adult now, they be like, wait, what you say?
For real. Let's get to some Q&A. Let's see. Let's see what y'all talking about. Somebody wants to know your thoughts on archangels. What's your thoughts on archangels?
Angels of life come in as angels of light on angles of light. These angels are accumulated light form in a physical vessel. Big Tookie was one of the angelic beings. Larry Hoover was one. Angel Babe was one. But it's hundreds of us on the earth, right? And the archangels are the ones who occupy the highest 7 positions. They also known in another culture as the Orisha, or the 7 African powers.
Okay. They want to. Can you say anything about Archangel Michael in particular?
Michael Jackson, yeah, he be back. He in the Philippines.
There you go, Rod. There you go.
Oh, that's where he wanted to wait for the storm to go over. He wanted to wait in the Philippines. He in the Philippines. Shit, I didn't pick that shit. That's just where he went.
Okay. Let's get to the next. Is this planet a prison for the soul?
It was originally a university, and it became a prison planet when it was attacked by the bad students and little kids.
But originally was a university.
Yeah. So imagine the best university in the known universe becomes the school for the derelicts. They trying to take over the school but ain't nobody telling the dean. I'm just the dean. I came to make these motherfuckers get the fuck out of school.
Right.
They can no longer have tenure in University Earth. University Earth was supposed to be where you teach to learn to balance the opposites between you and your counterpart.
Say that again. To balance the what?
Balance the opposites of you and your counterpart. To find harmony in relationships so that you can understand the difference between divine masculine and divine feminine. You always have to have an anomaly so that you can see that the machine is working correctly. So periodically you have people that was born to be other than straight.
Mm.
Those are control groups, tests within this matrix. What happened with Enlil kids is they seen that it was functional to turn the divine masculines into feminine masculines in order to conquer them. So they rape the princes so they can be unfit to rule.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Somebody says, why do certain cities have different vibes?
They on different ley lines. They on different energy frequencies coming from the ground. This is why we don't always be born back in the same place, because it's a different frequency that'll call us somewhere else based on where our particular star is in the zodiac at the time that we come back.
Okay. Do ancient beings work through non-spiritual people of influence? You might be talking about celebrities or something.
This question don't really make sense.
All right. Let's get to
What you mean? Not, if anybody that got breath got spirit.
Facts.
If you're non-spiritual, that means that you don't understand the importance of the breath.
Who are Inky's kids now? Who is Inky today?
Inky is actually coming back to the earth. He's already been approved by the Andromeda Council and the Galactic Council and the Earth Council to come and get Enlil kids. He's the only one that's approved to come back into the Earth zone and to take them out of here. Because of what they done, nobody from Inky's line is allowed back in. Inky's kids today are known as the Zulu, known as the Dinka, the Danakiel, those tall tribes of Africa, the Watusi, them Inky kids. The Dravidians of India, them Inky kids, right? When you get over here, this is the family of Tahuti. This is their land over here. Inanna, or Isis, she had 12 daughters, and the 12 daughters was divided among Europe, Asia, and Australia. Those were hers originally. When Enlil came, he caused the dark-skinned, straight-haired Chinese to lighten up by Yakub grafted devil bullshit. And he did this around the world, trying to get rid of Inanna seed and Inky seed and finally Tahuti seed. But they were all fighting him on different fronts. Genghis Khan fought him in the Far East before he started fighting the Romans, who was Enlil's children, right? Anu's children on Earth is the Anu, and in Japan, the Golden Dragon clan, right? Those who use the Golden Dragon in the Far East are all children of Anu, and you know them because of their long dreadlocked beards,
right,
and their golden brown skin. And from the Golden Dragon is a family crest symbol. The Green Dragon clan are Inky's children. The White Dragon clan is Inanna's children, or Isis's children, and the Red Dragon is Enlil's children.
Will we have God body abilities like Simio Toko?
I don't even know why people ask that, because you were not going to apply discipline required to develop to that level, because we haven't. Nobody used the discipline to develop to the level I'm at, and I'm not on that level.
Mm.
So to even ask about that. Are you willing to put in the work he put in to become who he was? You have the ability or the untapped potential, but you don't have the desire to exercise the willpower and the force and power of self to that same level. So you can't be of the same ability because you're not going to put in that kind of work. Just being honest, people want to know that kind of stuff. You can do it. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely due to the nature of the human and the inherent laziness of the species, which was done as a side effect from enlils tampering with the genome.
Do mediums really communicate with the dead?
Well, if you call them dead, I guess, but they ain't dead. They
They
just
ain't
out of
dead.
body.
Yeah.
It's like, do you really listen to the song playing on the radio down the street at the radio station in your home without going down there? It's a broadcast. It's a frequency. Everybody got a frequency. All I need is the sympathy to tap into a frequency. And if they're not here, they'll telepathically communicate as long as I can stay linked through the sympathy. Right? And then the more information I get about them, the more information they can tell me. And that's why it's always looking like mediums is baiting you for information. They're trying to hone into the whole frequency. Once they get locked in on the frequency, they don't need you to say shit else.
That's deep.
All of our brains operate on radio waves, radio frequency range, VHF and UHF. In video imagery that plays in the brain, it's operating on VHF, UHF, which is TV waves. Audio is FM and AM, which is frequency modulation, amplitude modulation. We on different frequencies than appear on your radio receiver, but you can make a radio receiver. Sometimes you can pick people up having a conversation before the radio was invented on the shortwave.
Yeah, I heard Billy say that before.
Right, because the frequency is still resonant in the air.
Right.
So just when a person not physically present, you have to read them as an energy and not as a person. As soon as you make them into a person, that's how you lose the connection, because you're no longer looking at the frequency that the energy come on, so you can no longer be the medium for that channel.
Yeah, I love that answer, my brother. That was powerful. Somebody wants to know what's up with the mark of the beast. What's the mark of the beast about? We keep hearing about, Rod. What's up with that?
It's a code. It's a Masonic code in the Bible to unlock the Bible code for the ones who got the blood in the right. It don't mean nothing about what they told y'all. The spookism was to keep you from studying the code.
All right. Is Thoth on the moon?
Not at this particular moment. He's sitting on a YouTube channel talking to a guy in New York.
No, I'm in Georgia now. I'm in Georgia.
ATL, my bad. Talking to a New Yorker in ATL.
Oh man. All right. Let's get to okay. How do chemtrails work on our frequencies?
Okay, now we got two sets of chemtrails. I gotta make that clear out the gate. The shit that used to be spraying, it could be targeted to your genome down to the individual by tapping into the frequency and clogging the frequency current. That's the resonant frequency coming through the atmosphere from the stars and the sun. So it's to interrupt the pattern of the light waves coming in. That's the old aluminum, the silica aluminum mixture that they was making. Now what you're seeing as a chemtrail is an agent used to clean that shit up. The agent that's used to clean it up is what's called a microscopic binding agent. What it does is it works like like cornstarch and water or something. It attaches onto whatever the impurity is, and then it falls out of the sky. And this is why the snow haven't been melting when people stick fire to it. You seen that? That's what's because the chemicals that's being removed from the atmosphere is not flammable. Aluminum silica is not flammable, and it's got a tolerance for direct heat that the regular H2O snow don't have that tolerance.
Can you ask Rod where we can get more info about the Atlantean/Atlantis?
That's one of those subjects you have to almost create a whole curiosity out of and study everything you can find on it. And then you have to put it together according to your own genetic memory. You will be able to remember more once you start putting the pieces together from what's out there. But you can find all kind of information that's everywhere.
Somebody wants to know, please elaborate on 369.
Yeah, those are what's called those are frequencies of creation. The 3 is the 3 sisters. The 6 is 3 sisters on each side. The 9 is 3 sisters on the left, right, and in the center. The 3 sisters is the energies of creation. We use them also in gardening as well. The 3 sister method is still using the 369. And the 369 is it's like a count, but it's done to measure a frequency and to flip a frequency and to turn the energy. So it's like giving you a tool to balance out 3 different energies. 3 different energies coming from 3 different angles. Right? And from each one of them, they coming in at 3 different angles. So you got to balance 3, and then the 369 mean balance. Right? 3 is a 2-bar cane. That means right, left, and center. Right? So you got the 2-bar cane flipping out to 69. That's 69 on the left, right, and up the center. So that's balanced by 3 sisters on all 3 sides. It's a science to that. That's a metaphysical formula that's being spoken using the explanation of what the 369 is. But there's really more of you tuning in to utilizing it. So when you do chants, you do them in 369s, right? But you also can use motherline chants, which is quatrains. That's what Nostradamus was using. Right off the black mirror, which is the black dot at the base of the brain, the neuromelanin in the black dot. Right? Remember I told you Dr. Richard King? Right. So those quatrains chants harness in the frequency too. And you got the quatrains, then now you get to into the 4, and the base, the foundation of the 4 pillars. Now we talking north, south, east, and west, or a news broadcast being triangulated off 4 corners instead of the 2-bar cane, which is a triangulation of 3 specific fixed points. Right? GPS, global positioning system. So when you use 4 instead of 3, you get more accuracy. So now the 4 represents the 4 X chromosomes, and the 3 is the 3 X chromosomes. What's missing? It's an algebra problem, the unknown variable. Why? Why is actually a question. Why is one of the X's missing?
Why?
Because woman decided to make man, so she mutated herself by mutating one of her X's. Right? And that's why when you break up, you now become an X.
You know, that leads to finish your thought, but you're going right into the question I'm about to ask. Go ahead, brother. You're going right. I'm listening to you, but I'm thinking of a question off the top of my head. Well, let me just ask it, Rod. So the brother asked earlier about getting powers like Simeon Toko.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he asked that, a little while after he asked that, you answered it like, nigga, you ain't got the discipline to do that. In my mind, I said, well, what about to get the powers like Simeon Toko? What if we got to meet our other half? We got to find that woman that's going to give us the powers by being intimate with that woman and by falling in love. What if is falling in love one of the fastest ways to get that power? Because if you ask a brother that's been in love, he feel like he on top of the world, nothing can stop him. So talk to me about what powers you get from finding that lady that you love, that soulmate or whoever. It don't have to be soulmate, and falling in love. Is that the
Look,
top of the food
and
chain?
this is the rule for the love game.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people be like, oh, he dating the white chick, or he dating that Mexican chick, or he dating that Chinese chick. He don't like sisters. That don't be it. No matter what she look like, she can be your most undesirable description of a woman.
Mm.
Like you be like, I never date a female with these characteristics. But if she love you the same as your mama love you, you're gonna find an excuse to fuck with her.
You absolutely, yeah.
That's the what they call it, the Oedipus complex. The way that it's described by Sigmund Freud was because of his own mental illness, but he learned it from shamans.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you gotta remember he was heavily sedated on cocaine and heroin and a couple of other drugs, psilocybins. He was like a heavy user. And so he'd take things and slightly distort them, but he got the keys that needed to be put in the public domain from the shamans.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you look at his desk, he got all of these tribal artifacts all over the place. We might call them African, but they're not necessarily African, they're tribal. But the connection with the woman and the man opens the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
The heart chakra is the same chakra Carl Jung used to use to bust chairs in half across the room.
Mm.
Right? He is the psychologist of the occultist, whereas Freud is the psychiatrist of the layperson.
Mm.
When you start getting into the higher aspects of psychiatry and psychology, you're going to automatically gravitate towards the works of Carl Jung, because he's using metaphysics in conjunction with psychology in order to give you an understanding of what's going on inside your own mind.
Mm.
Once you can map your mind out, when you map your mind out, you conquer the father brain,
Mm-hmm.
the linear logical self.
Mm-hmm.
You see how you process information, you get to learn how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
But until you get that heart link, the link from the heart is the coldest one.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is unlocking whatever greater potential you have. This is going to synchronize it all. This is going to it's going to turn your mitochondrial up.
Mm.
And when it turn your mitochondrial up, if you didn't do the self work, you will buckle, break down, deteriorate, shrivel up. Your heart might cut off, your brain might cut off, you have a stroke. Right? All of those from not doing the self work to develop, to be able to make yourself strong enough to carry that burden. Because it got to be a burden until you're strong enough to carry it as a badge of honor. Just like a woman carry a baby until it becomes a little human. You got to carry your burden that way. Sometimes that shit don't seem like it's ever going to end. But now you're at the last phase, because that's called long suffering. Right? Then you put yourself in the God's mind, and God don't respect time. So God don't operate by the construct of time. So you're always late or you're always early. There's no efficiency in the usage of time with you in your God mind. The time takes a secondary, because you're not trying to do instant manifestation now, because you understand the construct. that there's a turnaround time, and the bigger the construct that you're trying to, or the thing you're trying to manifest, the longer the turnaround time. So a lot of the stuff I started off saying 3-4 years ago, it's just not happening because of the total gravity and the size and the magnitude of the event that I'm describing. It takes a certain amount of time for it to go in the spirit realm, sink back to the 2 dimension in order to manifest in the 3 dimension. The bigger it is, the longer it takes.
That last question I asked you, I thought of a movie, and I want to ask you this before we get out of here. You know, Rocky, the movie Rocky, one of the biggest franchises in this country.
Mm-hmm.
If we analyze it from you know, the divine masculine and feminine aspect,
That's a good pick.
yeah, very good. Yeah, you know where I'm going. If Adrian isn't in the equation, does Rocky become Rocky?
Nope.
No.
No.
Mm.
He continued to be just under good enough.
Yeah.
It ain't that he ain't the hardest worker, because you can see obviously he was.
He was a hard worker, yeah.
But he didn't have inspiration. Inspiration changes everything.
Yes.
When somebody performs an inspired task, they put their whole all into it, and that's what make other people come along and say, hey, man, I need to help you with this shit. Right? Because the sincerity resonates. Right? That's because that passion from being ignited from within. How did you get to your best life? What's in your best life? What does it look like? How does it feel? Right? You start asking yourself those questions, now you're trying to outwit the devil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole book about it by Napoleon Hill. Excellent read.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Outwitting the devil. What's the devil? The devil is the deceptive mind, the adversary of the self.
Mm-hmm.
The number one adversary not being the self, meaning that you're fighting the phantom at all times. But when you make the number one adversary yourself, then you have to realize this is why you love your enemy. Because your enemy is you.
Mm-hmm.
And not until you conquer the enemy with self-love can you conquer your dark chaos self. Right? So now this is how you polishing up that gold heart.
Mm-hmm.
Developing the noble character and the noble traits that can make you be called king.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now, following the ancient code of kings, there's an ascension process to the throne. If there's an ascension process to the throne, if you can remember the process that used to be way back when, and you follow that process, nobody can stop you because nobody else remembers the process. I remember the process. I followed that shit. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And because it worked, now I got to go tell everybody I done fucked around and figured out some shit I wasn't trying to find out.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you figure out? How to take over the world? Nigga, you crazy. No, I'm serious. I can figure that shit out. Well, how you do it? You take this test. Right? You show yourself worthy. Right? You study them, show thyself approved.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to be approved by somebody who is your motherfucking approvers.
Mm-hmm.
Who gonna approve you?
Mm-hmm.
Those who came before you that already walked the path that you're trying to walk. The better that you walk the path, the more smoother you make your transition from one side of the galactic chessboard to the other. By the time they realize that you coming, it's too late. You already there.
I gotta ask this before we leave. Yo, this is an instant classic. This show right here, yo. This is, fam. We got, and Rob, we got 4,400 people in here. It's a packed room tonight. The chat room is booming. So I hope y'all show my brother some love on the Cash App. Show this brother. But let me ask you, this is an interesting statement. We was talking about Adrian and Rocky and all that, and somebody wrote monogamy is the way of Tahuti's tribe. Any truth to that? You know anything about that, Rod?
I don't know where they got that from, because when you're in the matriarchy, right? They make political. The women do the marrying. The men don't got nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
The women arrange the marriages. When the mother passed the torch to the first one. She said, "You the one gonna make my son happy here. You can take him from here." Right? Any business, political deals, they doing that shit. That's what the marriages is about. Marriage don't got nothing to do with, "Oh, baby, I love you." That artificial love, that lip service shit, that's not what's gonna happen. That's not how you build empires and kingdoms. The royal families of the earth don't see shit like the peasants. And the peasants on the earth don't see shit like the royal families. And that's the disconnect. The royal families is looking how to provide sustenance for the most amount of people, right? But the peasant is trying to find something for themselves. Everybody in the peasant mode, we all looking for something for ourselves. Marriage has nothing to do with monogamy or polygamy. It's about politics and social status between the sisters in the matriarchy. The matriarchy under patriarchs is a rape campaign. It's a molestation campaign. You can't deal with a woman with a God mind, so you just turn into a molester of children. It's the path of least resistance, which a lesser God would do. But the greater gods don't use that same formula of thinking. They don't even look at shit the same. The humans looking at relationships from the peasantry, while royal characters and royal stature moving in this same network of human interaction, trying to behave like the royalty they is, but the structure's not there because the family's been broke up, right? The royal families don't operate like that. They take in orphans, the real royals, and they don't mistreat them. They treat them like they own and give them full rights as they own. They don't believe in slavery, right? But they believe if you come and you expect something, you should contribute. They believe that. The concept of tribalism is not the same as this modern patriarchal Republican democratic system. The Republican democratic system is Rome. Rome is predicated upon a homosexual culture, conquering a culture of divine feminine by influencing the men to homosexuality by restricting the access to the women. While the women try to make the political deals, right, and they try to pick the ones that'll keep, joy within the clan, right? They try to build a clan of their own. This the circle. This the inner circle. You ain't in the inner circle, then you're gonna get what's left, right? But when you're looking at it from no big eyes, no little U's, we don't look at relationships the way we supposed to. We don't have self-respect. So how the fuck we gonna get somebody else respect? You got to be able to function in a monogamy before you can in polygamy. That's a fact. Because if you can't keep one woman happy, how the fuck you gonna keep two happy? Right? She walking around kicking the wall all day and you going upside her head because you can't handle her. Right? You have to be able to function in a matriarchal relationship or situation before you even fit to consider a polyamorous situation of any sort. If you can't balance with one person, you definitely can't balance with two. Right? But then the person that you trying to balance with got to also be seeking balance. We looking at it as trying to be self-righteous, trying to do stuff out in the open for people to see how good we is. All the time we faking the funk, knowing deep in our heart we got some bullshit that we ain't cleaned up, right? So we see the poor white dude on the corner, give him $5. I gave that cracker $5, right? You just took all of the good intentions and you giving them the $5 away with disparaging remarks after the fact. So there's no gratitude attached to that. There's no reciprocity coming, right? But if you give them the $5 and forget about it, nature takes its course. reciprocity becomes inevitable because you didn't do it with the expectation of anything. That makes you worthy to receive everything. Long as you expecting something from somebody else in order for you to do something from them, don't even do it. You're wasting your time and theirs.
Mm.
But when you do it from the goodness of your heart and you don't expect nothing back, you would deserve it of everything to come back. And that's how you open yourself for the good shit. Stand in the position of right, tell the truth.
Mm.
That's the law of righteousness.
Mm.
Following the law of righteousness, as you walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, you will fear no evil.
Mm.
Because you can't lose when you're right, telling the truth.
Man. Right, man. With that being said, man, lead the people. Man, I appreciate your talk so much, man. I'm a type of dude, you was just talking about, gratitude. I appreciate shit. And I get a lot of blessings because I stay on a frequency of gratitude. And I'm gonna make sure I donate to your Cash App after this show, Rod, because I appreciate you coming. And I could tell you had to be a disciplined brother to tap in and be able to access this level of information that a lot of people can't get nowhere else, whether it's YouTube, libraries, or whatever. And I appreciate that shit, man. I know you did a lot of dedication in your life to be at the level that you at now. You like Kobe Bryant. You ever seen them? Kobe Bryant got the Mamba mentality. You got like the Mamba mentality with this information. I'm psychic. I'm intuitive, and I can sense that you got a Mamba mentality with this information, and I appreciate that, brother. So I want to share my energy, the fiat energy with you, so you can do whatever you got to do with it, whether it's buy a book or whatever it is. But I just want you to know, brother, that you are appreciated in this community, man, and all the work that you put in to get to the level that you at right now. And with that being said, leave your information for everybody that want to get in contact with you, Rod.
Yep, so y'all can find me on Instagram at the Sick Eight. That's primarily where I'm at. If I'm not on here with Brother Rich or Young Elder, I do classes with Young Elder a couple times a week on YouTube. And my Rod Hayes page on Facebook, I normally share a lot of stuff on there still. I'm not as active on there as I used to be because me and Zuckerberg don't get along.
We'll leave that at that. Wait. Last quick question. The Holy Tablets, is it an accurate book? Somebody wants to know.
It's a translation of the Sumerian tablets. The translator, you can actually go back to one of these universities, I think it's Georgetown, got an online cuneiform tablet translator. The reason why they did it, this is all called. The reason why they did it, because like Malachi, he worked like a machine. And he was able to use the calculator to translate his own shit at his own pace in order to give us the holy tablets, which also got information on the historical records of Muhammad, Middle Eastern or Islam, Judaism. He got other stuff in there too. But the holy tablets is accurate out of the sacred record of the United Nubian Nation of Moors. You got to remember, when somebody tell the story, they can only tell it from the side that they can see it. Right. So it's the most accurate that I read so far that's true to the story as it happened. Whereas some of the translations, like Stitchins, I can see his bias to try to get a point across to prove that he right about the Anunnaki creating Lulu Amalus. Right? That's his only thing he wants you to understand. So he overly biased toward pushing that agenda that the humans are insignificant slaves. But what he doesn't push is the reality of the fact is that the Anunnaki was an older species of galactic being that knew more of the galactic law than the human, but the human was a more powerful being that hadn't realized its potential yet. So the Anunnaki came in at a time when the human was learning his potential and arrested his development. And that's how they was able to make us work as servants for so long. Right? If I could have came and told this whole story around the time of Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali could have told this story. But you know what? They wouldn't have believed him. Because there wasn't enough information surfacing from ancient sources to be referenced and cross-referenced to prove what he's saying. Most of them, Noble Drew Ali ain't trying to prove nothing to nobody. When you read more science and you look at the works that he put out, he's not trying to prove nothing to nobody. He's talking in a very specific code, in this wind talker Mississippian language. In order for him to be using those codes, he have to be from those ancient ones. And if he's one of the ancient ones, then there's another one around him somewhere that's going to carry it on if he falls. And then you find Elijah, the Remedian. Right? So he carries it on. But the only way any of this shit will work is they all got to be married to what's called a big mama, a dark mother. Right? So when you go back and look, Noble Drew Ali had several wives. Elijah's main wife was Claire. Claire was the one with the juice of the nation. Claire is the mirror that is Farad Muhammad. Claire is the mirror image of Farad Muhammad because she was the real power. So they used the image of Farad Muhammad to conceal and protect Mother Claire from the dirty Moors murdering her.
I never heard that before.
I know you didn't. Because it's Masonically coded. I'm just translating it.
We're gonna elaborate that on the next show, because that could go into some whole nother that's a whole hour conversation, Rod. You always taking it there, man. You always taking it there, man. Wow.
Everything is connected.
All right.
Everything is connected, but everybody don't know how to connect everything. Some of us is just more schooled or educated by Big Mama than others, because Big Mama speak a very specific way. And by her speaking how she speak, that's how we know when we hear her voice come through somebody else how to follow the wisdom to its destination. These sisters lead us and protect us through our life by telling us, hey, boy, don't you go down there with that gun. Yes, ma'am. Man, I was going to kill that nigga, man. He got that lady come out here. Right? You seen it. We know all seen it. We know I've been party to it. We getting ready to whoop somebody, and then somebody mama say, boy, y'all better not be out here fighting. And we both looking at each other like, I'm going to kick your ass. And then we both look at her at the same time like, yes, ma'am. But now the youth don't have that reverence for the elders like that no more.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the system of divide and conquer. You have to separate the youth from the wisdom of the elders, because that youth is tempered by the wisdom. And when the wisdom is assimilated at the earliest age is when they had their greatest chance for success in life. So we got to rebuild the clans.
Hey, with that being said, family, I want to thank the brother Rod Hayes for coming on here once again. I want to thank everybody for staying with us the whole 2 hours. Still got over 4,000 y'all in the chat, but we got to get up out of here. You know, he'll be back sometime before the end of the year, family. But with that, thank you, everybody. We signing out. Peace, family.
Peace.